Sometimes these things get out of control, and I Rain Man things that, yeah. And I say, the Rain Man term. I know there's a lot of kids out there that may not have seen the movie Rain Man. Dustin Hoffman. Anyways, I end up putting a lot of stuff on the board. I decided, I'm just going to put the line combinations up. That was a bad idea. I started on this side, which made it worse because as soon as I was finished Vegas, I was like, that's probably not going to fit under these other two series, and I was kind of right. And of course, anyways, let's just get into this because tonight the playoffs start. 3 games tonight, 3 game ones, so it's very, very simple, very, very basic. 4 wins out of 7. And for new fans, overtime changes in the playoffs. You play till there's a winner. There's no 3-on-3. There's no shootout. That never happens. It can't happen. If it goes to 4 or 5 overtimes, all right. Some of the best games I've ever watched have been those long marathon overtime sessions, and I'm really looking forward to a couple of those this spring. And there are some series that I think will be more prone to those marathon sessions, I would think, than others. I don't see that with Winnipeg and Minnesota. So Winnipeg starts at home tonight. They're starting Hellebuck, 44-11-9, 2.36 goals against, 924 save percentage. And this is the last time you'll see stats from the regular season on the board. Today and tomorrow are it. And then once all of the teams have played game 1, no point in putting up regular season stats. We can start talking about postseason and who's done what and who hasn't. And I'm going to watch as much of these games as possible so I can give you guys my opinion based on what I've seen. That also gets easier in the playoffs. It's funny. During the regular season, you have those nights where there's 13 to 15 games, and I don't know. I watched as much as I could. I'm hoping by next fall that I'll have multiple TVs that I can watch at once. I haven't gone over this with Yvonne yet because I'm sure her answer will be, wait, what? But if I had 3 televisions where I could watch 3 different games... No, if I could watch...
What the hell?
No, I'm just saying, if I could watch 3 different games...
No, that's what split screen is for.
Yeah, but we don't have that.
No.
So, see what we can do.
No.
Because if I can have... No. I just...
No.
I think
You can have it on the TV and your computer. How's that? Ta-da!
I want to provide for these wonderful people the best coverage I can.
No, Shannon.
So that would involve watching, and on nights
you can't.
On nights that there's 15 games, I could watch 3 or 4 at once.
No, you can't.
Because now you've mentioned the computer, so that's 4 screens. So I could watch 4 screens at once.
No.
Did you ever notice in the background on TSN they have all of those TVs?
Yeah,
all those monitors.
Watching them.
Yeah, they are. Totally.
Well,
they have like Ralph will watch the one game and Peggy will watch another game and then Ricky will watch.
No.
Yeah, that's how it works.
No, it's not.
And I'm
What's going on?
I have to do all of that.
No.
Yeah.
No.
We'll talk about it. We've got till October to get this straightened out. And tonight, Winnipeg and Minnesota are going to straighten some things out between the two of them. Winnipeg's been in the playoffs twice, 2015 and 2007. 2007, it was as the Atlanta Thrashers. Both occasions they got swept by the Rangers, by Anaheim. Tonight, they start to rewrite history. This is about a brand new Jets team. This is about the whiteout. So there'll be a lot of white jerseys in that crowd. It's funny though because I kind of like the blue one too. I have all the Winnipeg Jets jerseys. I have the Heritage, I have the white, I have the blue. I kind of like the blue one. I don't know. They're all nice. Anyways, on its surface, I would say that the 12 forwards for Winnipeg and Minnesota kind of cancel each other out. And you'll have to take my word for it. Defensively, Spurgeon is back for Minnesota, which is potentially huge. Cullen is in as third-line center, which moves Greenway over to the wing. I believe they had Greenway at center for their last game, and of course, last game of the year, you just throw whatever. Zucker, Stahl, Niederreiter, Parisi, Koivu, Granlund, Greenway, Cullen, Coyle, Foligno, Eriksson-Ek, and Winnick. I didn't see anybody's listed as out. On the Winnipeg side of things, Connor, Scheifele, Wheeler, Ehlers. Obviously Suter's out for Minnesota. Perreault, Little, Armia, Kopp, Lowry, Tanev. So, again, just looking at the fourth lines, Foligno, Eriksson, Winnick versus Kopp, Lowry, and Tanev. I don't see a huge difference in those two fourth lines. Although I will say this, Eriksson has the best opportunity in this series to break through. On the blue line, Brodin, Dumba, Soucy, Spurgeon, Sealer, and Prosser. Morrissey, Trouba, Morrow, Bufflin, Sherratt, and Myers, and Kulikov still out for Winnipeg. I don't know. I think they both have some weakness on that blue line, and yet the top four is solid enough that I'm pretty confident that we're going to see a low scoring series. And Hellebuck and Dubnyk, 2.36 goals against on one side, 2.52 on the other. In their last 5 games, Parise 3 goals, Koivu 4 assists, Granlund a goal and 3 assists, Brodin a goal and 3 assists, Dumba 2 goals, 2 assists. On the Winnipeg side of things, Kyle Connor 2 goals, 4 assists, Wheeler 3 goals, 2 assists, Ehlers 1 goal, 3 assists. Kopp 4 goals and 2 assists, so Andrew Kopp with a nice finish to the season. Lowry with 4 assists, Bufflin 2 goals, 2 assists. So there you go. Winnipeg, Minnesota, pick your poison in this one. So moving on from that and moving over to Philly and Pittsburgh. Philadelphia's got Elliott starting 23-11-7, 2.66 goals against, 909 save percentage, and Matt Murray 27-16-3, 2.92 goals against, a 907 save percentage. So there's been a raging debate going on about goaltending between myself and some fans. I'm not sold on Matt Murray going into the playoffs, and that's just how I feel. And I'm going to refer to Marc-Andre Fleury on this. Marc-Andre Fleury over the last 2 years has been sensational, but there have definitely been seasons where Marc-Andre Fleury looked very, very vulnerable and very likely to give up some goals at the wrong time. I remember, okay, when Marc-Andre Fleury was seen as a weakness for the Pittsburgh Penguins. It is remarkable what a run, in this case 2 Stanley Cup runs, will do for a man's confidence and for his reputation. And remember, Fleury had already won a Stanley Cup before then. From year to year, it can be really tough to maintain that intensity. Philly has a number of offensive weapons, and Giroux is really going to be the key to this. I'm not sold on this series being necessarily low scoring. Look again, Minnesota 2.52, 2.36. Philly and Pittsburgh 2.66, 2.92. Elliott comes into the playoffs with his last game being a shutout, and that's great. But again, I don't know. I don't know how long a leash either of these guys are going to have in the playoffs. I would think Murray's will be longer than Elliott's, only because Mrazek is an experienced goaltender and DeSmith is not. So if they need to, they can definitely go to Mrazek, and I think they'd be more confident going to Mrazek than Pittsburgh ever would be going to DeSmith. Not because DeSmith's a poor player or anything like that, just because, I mean, come on, Casey DeSmith versus Peter Mrazek. And I'm just talking in experience, not in terms of talent. You look at the lines. Giroux, Couturier, Raffle, Lindblom, Patrick, and Voracek. I think having Voracek on the wing for Nolan Patrick is perfect. Voracek's one of the best passers in the league, and I think Patrick, as his shot gets better and as his game develops, I really like those two as a pairing. Konechny, Filppula, and Simmons. That's a very dangerous line. And then Lawton, Laterra, and Reed. On the Pittsburgh side of things, Gensel, Crosby, and Rust, because it's playoff time, so look out for Jake Gensel. Remember, this guy put up a ton of goals last year in the playoffs. Hagelin, Malkin, and Hornquist, which is just filthy. Sherry, Broussard, and Kessel. As long as Broussard's healthy, and I say this again, as long as Broussard's healthy and he's 100%, then yeah, that's a really huge difference between Konechny, Filppula, and Simmons and Sherry, Broussard, and Kessel, or is it? Because honestly, I mean, I look Simmons and Kessel. Kessel's better. Brassard, Filppula. Brassard's better. Konechny, Sherry. I would take Konechny over Sherry. I don't think that the difference between third lines is as massive as some may think. And then Kuhnhackl, Sheehan, and Aston Reese on the fourth line. I like that fourth line a lot. On the blue line, Provorov goes to Spear, Sanheim, McDonald, Manning, and Gudas on the Philly side of things. On the Pittsburgh side of things, Dumoulin, Letang, Mata, Schultz, Hunwick, and Alexiak. So Matt Hunwick, who was supposed to get traded and just didn't happen, which I thought was kind of weird. I always wondered how that works. So you're a player, you hear your name in the rumors for months, and then you stay. It's got to feel pretty good for Matt Hunwick, because if he got moved, it probably would have been to a rebuilding team. I give the advantage on the blue line. I skew towards Philly on this if the young guys can keep it together. If guys like Sanheim, Provorov, and Ghost don't get shaken at all in the playoffs, if Pittsburgh's offense doesn't run them over, then we're good. And sometimes with young and relatively inexperienced, I'm not going to paint it out that they're all rookies, because they're not. But it can be hard as a defenseman in the playoffs to have Crosby coming over the boards, and then you got Malkin right after that. And then you got Brassard. Like, there's not going to be any rest for these guys. But at the same time, when I look at the 5-6 for Pittsburgh being Hunwick and Alexiak, that doesn't tell me Stanley Cup going to Pittsburgh kind of thing either. And Philly can beat this team. Out for Philly, Oduya's not playing tonight, and Neuwirth is still on the injured list. So, Oduya's out. And I went to a couple different sources on this, that Oduya's not a healthy scratch, according to them, that he's still listed as being injured. So, and it doesn't matter. I don't think Oduya at this point in his career is a guy that I'd put in ahead of either Manning or Gudas. So, it's kind of a whatever. In their last 5 games, Giroux 8 goals and 1 assist, Couturier 5 assists, Patrick 3 goals and 2 assists, Voracek a goal and 4 assists. That's that pairing that I like. Provorov 3 goals and 3 assists, and Ghost with 6 assists in the last 5 games. On the Pittsburgh side of things, Crosby 2 goals and 3 assists, Malkin 5 assists, Hornquist comes in with 5 goals and 2 assists in his last 5 games, Kessel 4 goals and 3 assists, so 7 points for him as well. Sheehan 1 goal and 3 assists, Letang 2 goals and 3 assists, and Justin Schultz with 4 assists. So if Schultz and Letang are rounding into form, I should say, at this time of the season, that's bad for everybody else. That is something that is essentially bad for the rest of the league, because Justin Schultz played a large role for Pittsburgh last year in the playoffs. Remember, they won it without Letang last year. Now, if you look at their histories, of course, Philly won the Cup in 74 and 75. Only a fool would say 76. Pittsburgh, 1991, 1992, 2009, and of course 2016 and 2017. They last missed the playoffs in 2006, those Pittsburgh Penguins. And we thought mid-season that maybe they'd miss them this year. But they came through in the second half, played fantastic, and here they are with home ice in the first round. Missed playoffs for Philly, a little different. 2017, 2015, 2013, and 2007. So, even years, not the friends of the Philadelphia Flyers. And the last time they met was in 2012, and Pittsburgh lost that series. This series is going to be, I think, close on the scoreboard. I do think that at the end of the night, we'll be talking about the scoring on both sides of the sheet, and I think we'll be talking about how this offense that's been put together by the Penguins, they can afford to have guys like Brassard and Kessel on the third line, is pretty fantastic and pretty intimidating to the rest of the hockey world. And last but not least on the list here, also, of course, Game 1. LA and Vegas. Jonathan Quick, Marc-Andre Fleury. Jonathan Quick with a 33-27-3 record, 2.40 goals against average, and a .921 save percentage. The interesting thing for me with Quick is his win-loss record isn't better. Marc-Andre Fleury, 29 wins, 13 losses, 4 overtime losses, 2.24 goals against, and a .927 save percentage. So which Fleury shows up in this? The Pittsburgh Flurry that won back-to-back Stanley Cups, or the one that before that, a lot of people were talking about maybe he was washed up and maybe he should get moved. I'm thinking the 2016 and 2017 Marc-Andre Fleury shows up this year because he's kind of had a chip on his shoulder this year. It may be, when you're going through the expansion process and a team's like, well, we're going to go in another direction. That has to be frustrating to that player. It has to have been frustrating to Fleury. And he has to have spent this season saying, I'm going to prove I'm still a number one goaltender in this league and that I can be a top 10 goaltender in the league. I'm sure there's no hard feelings for him towards Matt Murray. And, I would be very surprised if there were. And he seems to be very happy in Vegas. Fleury and Quick is kind of a dream matchup in the first round of the playoffs. Obviously, it's never happened before. Fleury and Quick being on opposite sides of the ice in a series. This is going to be fun. Iafallo, Kopitar, Brown. The one that stands out here is Iafallo being back. I think that's major for LA. I know Iafallo doesn't put up a ton of points, but he's very, very visible in every game that they play. He brings an energy to the team that it may not translate to points, but it's fun. Reeder, Carter, and Toffoli on the second line. Pearson, Kempe, and Lewis on the third. Clifford, Thompson, and Mitchell on the fourth. Up front, what's weird is Vegas kind of looks better, and I'll show you. Marchessault, Carlson, and Smith, that's a deadly line. Neal, Howla, and Tuck. Tatar, Eakin, and Carpenter. So they gave up a bunch of draft picks for a guy who's on their third line, and I think there's a lot of courage with that. I do. I think that having Tatar on the third line, I don't know that that was the intention when they traded for him, but which wingers are you going to knock down? Marchessault or Neal? So I think what they did picking up Tatar, it is risky, but the risk is minimal considering they already have Cody Glass and Nick Suzuki coming up, and Brandstrom. They've already got enough prospects that they're good for at least this year. They can afford to take that risk. Fourth line, Nosek, Belmar, and Carrier. So that's a pretty solid fourth line. And then on the blue line, I kind of tend to be favoring Vegas a little bit here too. But Fantenberg, Doughty, Martinez, Follin, Phaneuf, and Ledoux. For LA. For Vegas, Schmidt, McNabb, Englund, Theodore, Merrill, and Colin Miller. There's a lot to like on both blue lines. I know Phaneuf's the butt of a lot of jokes, and I get that, but here's the thing with Phaneuf. He is not being counted on to be the key guy here. Doughty's your key guy. Martinez has been fantastic. If Muzzin can come back in this series, Muzzin and Forbert are both out. If these guys can get into this series at some point, then the blue line clearly skews towards LA being stronger than Vegas. And it's not any insult to Vegas. It's that when this defense is healthy, I see LA as being probably one of the top 5 in the league in terms of top defense from 1 through 6. And again, in net, you've got Quick and Campbell on one side, Fleury and Subban on the other. Jack Campbell, once again, proof that if you're an LA goaltender, you're going to get better. The players who are out for tonight for Vegas, Spiza, Perron, and Lindbergh. And Perron being out, again, kind of illustrates just how deep Vegas is. David Perron is a top winger. He's out, and yet you look at this lineup for Vegas, and it doesn't look any weaker than it would if he was in it. But let's look at the scoring in the last 5. Kopitar, 1 goal, 3 assists, 4 points. So we'll start on the LA side of things. Brown, 5 goals, 1 assist, 6 points. Carter, 3 goals, 2 assists, 5 points. Huge difference in the attack of the LA Kings once Jeff Carter got back, and we all expected that. Doughty, 1 goal, 4 assists, 5 points. Martinez, 2 goals, 2 assists, 4 points. Of course, they won the Cup in 2014 and 2012, but they've missed the playoffs in 2017 and 2015. This is a feast or famine team. Carolina was that at one point too, where it's either they miss or they go far in the playoffs. So I am favoring them to beat Vegas in the first round, but it is very, very close. Of course, this is Vegas' first year. I don't have a history to go to with this, which worked in their favor in the regular season, and it can work in their favor in the playoffs. But it is a veteran team in LA. You've got a number of holdovers from the 2014 Stanley Cup winning team. Last year, we talked about how those holdovers were slow and looked like the game had passed them by, and this year a majority of those players have had a fantastic year. So it can change. I could be standing here in 2 weeks talking about how LA looked slow compared to Vegas, and Vegas wore them down and frustrated Kopitar, and Doughty just couldn't shut down Marchessault and Carlson, and the overall depth of Vegas was fantastic. Or I'm standing here talking about LA's a very smart veteran team. So there you go. There's the 3 games for tonight. Let me know in the comment section below who you think takes game 1. We're there. We're now in the playoffs, and even though it's only 3 matchups, I somehow managed to fill the board and talk way too long. So there you go. I had anticipated a short video, and yet here we are. Thank you very much for watching. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And I get the lineups from dailyfaceoff.com. So people ask, where do you get your lineups? I get them from dailyfaceoff.com, and I consider them to be really accurate, because they tend to be right, and they're the first Google search thing that comes up at any time. There's been a lot of talk about whether or not I'm going to have a bracket. It was set up by Nick, a long-time subscriber to this channel. And so I'll go ahead and include a link in the comment section or the description section below to said bracket on NHL.com. I don't play it. I don't. My brackets are always broken right away. But yeah, there's one set up. Like I said, I'll give you guys the link. And best of luck to everybody, because starting tonight, that's all closed and the games have started. So best of luck to everybody, and right now there's 16 fan bases that are all excited. 2 weeks from now it'll be 8. 2 weeks from then it's 4. Then it's 2. And only one fan base will be happy at the end of the playoffs. But again, thanks for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.